Hey youth, my name is Helen and I am the Youth and Children's Minister at St Michael's Church in Burwood. It's so lovely that you've come and joined us today. Today we're talking about the word. We are talking about the word tax. Dun dun dun. So I want to ask you a question. Have you ever had to pay tax? So some of you may have a part-time or full-time job and you would have received a pay slip, and it will have the money that you earn, and then it will have subtraction, a certain amount of money, and then you'll get the money that you actually receive. So I remember when I was about 15, I had my first job as a waitress. I worked in one of the local pubs. And so I remember the first time I received my first ever pay slip, and I was like, ka-ching, look at all that money. And then I saw the tax that had been taken off, and then I was just like, that's not a lot of money. So no one had ever really taught to me a lot about what tax was. So tax is something that we pay to the government, and then the government use it to update stuff like our hospitals, our schools, parks, council-run parks. You know when you go through a pothole and you're like, that's not very nice in the car? Well, the tax is used to basically resurface. Lots of little things like that. That's what our tax is used for. And so in today's story, it's found in the book of Matthew. It's just Vladimir, my cat's tail, in the corner. So it's found in the book of Matthew, which if you go back and look at some of our other videos, we know he was one of Jesus's disciples, one of his mates. He used to follow him around, learn from him loads, and then he wrote everything down and put it in the Bible. And Matthew makes up one of the 4 Gospels. So in today's story, in Jesus' time, there was this dude who was called Caesar. He was a Roman ruler, and everyone had to pay something called a poll tax. So this was something that it was a set amount that everybody had to pay, and it all went to Caesar. Back then, they used to live in a form kind of like a dictatorship. Like whoever was in charge, all the money came to them, and they didn't really, use it in a very good way. Now, we live in a better way of life where the government try their best to use the tax in the most efficient way. So kind of like our queen, we don't get to vote for who's queen, but we do get to vote for who's parliament. And parliament are the ones, so the government are the ones who control the taxes, where it all goes. Jesus' time wasn't like that at all. So people really resented paying their taxes. And so some of the religious leaders came up to Jesus and asked him if they thought people should pay their tax. So we've talked about this before in previous videos. The religious leaders and the Pharisees were constantly trying to trip Jesus up. They were trying to trap him. So give them reason to arrest him and crucify him. So they were trying to trap him again with this question. So if he said, yes, people should pay their taxes, then nobody would like him, he wouldn't be very popular, and people get angry at him. If he said, no, people shouldn't be paying their taxes, then he would be questioning Caesar, questioning the authority, and then he could get arrested and get into a lot of trouble for it. But Jesus saw straight through their plan. And what Jesus did is what Jesus always does. He answered their question with a question. And so Jesus said, whose picture is on the coin? And they answered, it's Caesar. And then Jesus said to them, so give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give to God what belongs to God. I can imagine people kind of scratching their heads like, Caesar, God, what? Huh? And so what Jesus is meaning by this is that God created us in his image. And so if God created us in his image, then we belong to God. And what he's saying is to give ourselves fully to God. So our thoughts, i.e. praying to him, what we do, what we say, how we treat other people, all those things that we must do the way that God does to us. So he treats us with love, with grace, with understanding. He keeps on forgiving us, all of those things. Jesus is saying that we must do the same to other people. I don't know about you, but I think the world would be so much more a better place. My English is really bad today, I'm really sorry. The world would be a much better place if we treated others the way that God treated us. So you may have heard the Bible verse, treat others as you wish to be treated. So this is kind of like touching on what this is saying again, what Jesus is saying again. So back in the day, it was really, really negative about paying taxes. And I know at the moment there are a lot of politics going on and it's really easy to get sucked into it. And so we should be praying for our leaders. At the end of the day, our leaders are only human and humans constantly get things wrong. The only person who was without sin was Jesus. He was literally the only human who was without sin. And so when we get frustrated and when we see that the government may be not spending our taxes as efficiently, they may be directing it one way more than the other, we need to be praying for those leaders, praying for their wisdom, praying for God's truth to descend into their minds so that they can do a better job, because we are all trying to do a better job all of the time. We're always trying to improve ourselves. So taxes back then used to have a really negative viewpoint. People really didn't want to do it because Caesar wasn't spending the money in a very good way. And so we really don't want to have that mindset now. Taxes are a great thing. Taxes help pay for so many different things. It's a really, really fundamental and important part of our lives. And it's something that you will have to do when you're an adult. So don't fear taxes. They are for a positive reason. Okay? That is the take home. Also, Jesus loves you. Thanks for joining me. See you next week. Bye.